Hello, hello. Pastor Mark from the Word of Life Fellowship Church in Omaha, Nebraska. Back again. Bible study, but maybe just a little information. Something to share. If you and I were sitting across the table from one another or riding in the car, we could have this kind of a conversation. Lately, and when I say lately, I mean in the last probably 10 years, 15 years, excuse me. Lately, it seems there is some kind of a special day for everything and everyone. And that's okay with me. That just means that one of these days, it's going to be my special day. Although I have not seen yet on a calendar a left-handed bald guy's day. So until then, I guess I'm excluded. Holidays, holy days, that's the origin of the word holiday. As a Christian, a holy day as a Christian means something like Easter or Christmas. The word holidays is a word that's spun off or evolved in the language of English from the word holy day. Holidays in today's busy world are viewed in many ways as simply a day off of work, an opportunity to meet with friends and families, to enjoy some relaxation, to spend some time together. And for the record, I personally love spending time with family and friends on holidays. The marketing departments in some industries are trying they're trying very hard to turn some days into holidays. For example, Valentine's Day, Halloween, Mother's Day, Father's Day, just to name a few. There's nothing wrong with those days. Those days are observed for a particular reason. And whatever it's for, whether it's the love of a sweetheart or of candy or mom or dad, it's technically not really a holiday in the context of the word holy day. Feel free to celebrate if you want to. Some of the holy days, as listed in the Bible, would be Passover, the Day of Atonement, Feast of Tabernacles, the Feast of First Fruits, etc. These were days that God set apart for holy convocations, special assembly times, literally rehearsals for some future event. And they were to the people, in this case, these were holidays in the Jewish faith. The people were to assemble together before the Lord and remember the goodness and the holiness of God. Now, as a Gentile believer, we're not required to keep the Old Testament holy days. We understand that Christ has fulfilled many of them, although we are awaiting his fulfillment of the Feast of Trumpets, and by extension, Feast of Tabernacles, etc. When he returns to gather the church to himself, Feast of Trumpets, it's a fulfillment of that feast. You'll find that in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 32, and 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 and 17. I encourage you to read them. That's going to be the fulfillment of that feast. Also, at the end of what in Daniel's prophecy, something referred to as the 70th week in Daniel's prophecy, at the end of that week, God, or in this case, Christ, comes and rescues and saves Israel from utter destruction. This would be at the end of what we would refer to as the Great Tribulation period. And at that point, he will fulfill the Feast of Tabernacles and will dwell with men. Wow. You can read that at length in Zechariah chapter 14, but in chapter 14, verse 16, that's the pinnacle of it. Zechariah 14, in the 16th verse. It's a good one. Now those are some special days worth celebrating. In the last few weeks, more than that, it's been months. This is November. In the last few months, at least where I work, they talk about in meetings, they'll bring up, this is such and such day, this is whatever day, this is, have a donut day, this is celebrate cake day. There's all kinds of days. I had no idea there was such a thing. And there's a national day of something almost every week. If you get the right kind of calendar, you can see those things. I apparently don't have those, so I don't notice them. In the month of September, it seemed like almost every single day. I'm exaggerating, forgive me. It was a lot. There were a lot of days. So this holiday coming up for us here in the United States is Thanksgiving. And it's coming up tomorrow. It's one of my personal favorites for a number of reasons. I'll explain some of them here in a few moments. In the Bible, we see that we are to be thankful, and that being thankful is a very good thing. Psalm 100, verse 4, reading from the New King James Version. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving and into his courts with praise. Be thankful to him and bless his name. Entering into his gates with thanksgiving, into his courts with praise, literally means hands extended upward, worshiping God. Entering his presence, the gates signifying the presence of God, with thanksgiving. Colossians chapter 3, the 15th verse, I'm reading from the New King James again. And let the peace of God rule in your hearts, to which also you were called in one body, and be thankful. We are to be thankful. As Christians, we are to be thankful in every circumstance. It's kind of hard sometimes when things are going wrong to feel thankful, but you gotta be thankful. I won't go into a lot of detail, but not only do I need to purchase another vehicle for myself because my truck is kaput, my wife's car is having some problems. I don't really want to have to do that, but we were already going to have to purchase another car. Now we might even need a third. Come on, somebody. In everything, give thanks. That'll help my attitude. But that's the way it is. We're supposed to be thankful, and we should be. And it shouldn't just be lip service. We should genuinely give thanks to God in every circumstance. In 1789, the United States Congress passed a resolution asking the president to recommend to the nation a day, specifically a day of Thanksgiving. This was done because the Revolutionary War had recently ended. I know that might be a surprise to some of you, thinking that it was only in 1776. Well, that actually wasn't even the very beginning of it, but it lasted for about 10 years. It was It was a long war. Well, President George Washington, the first president of the United States, issued a proclamation naming Thursday, November 26th, 1789, as a day of public thanksgiving. It was the first time Thanksgiving was celebrated under the new Constitution. Subsequent presidents issued Thanksgiving proclamations as well, but the dates and even the months of those celebrations varied. It wasn't until President Abraham Lincoln's 1863 proclamation that Thanksgiving was regularly commemorated each year on the last Thursday of November. In the 118th Presidential Proclamation, and you really should look that up. It takes any question out of your mind as to the motivation behind President Lincoln's thinking. He genuinely intends this to be a day of thanksgiving to God. He proclaimed the last Thursday in November to be a national day of thanksgiving, and I quote, I'm going to read one small paragraph from that proclamation. It's a little bit lengthy, but it's not a book. Now therefore, I, Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, do hereby appoint and set apart the last Thursday in November next as a day which I desire to be observed by all my fellow citizens wherever they may then be, as a day of thanksgiving and praise to Almighty God, the beneficent creator and ruler of the universe. End quote. The day was to be set apart to give God praise and thanksgiving. At the time, the United States was in the midst of a civil war that was costing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of lives and untold amounts of damage and harm to property and all kinds of things. It was a horrible time in our nation's history, very horrible time. Thankfully, with God's grace, we came through it and the right side won. However, that proclamation specifically was to give thanks to God for bringing our country through that very dark time in our nation's history, even though we were in the midst of it, right in the middle, but we didn't know it at the time. Now, from that time, 1863, until 1939, our country celebrated Thanksgiving on the last Thursday of November. President Franklin Roosevelt moved it to the third Thursday in November in 1939 because the last Thursday of November that year fell on the very last day of the month. Excuse me. Concerned that the shortened Christmas shopping season might dampen the economic recovery that the country was trying to and just starting to see, President Franklin Roosevelt issued a presidential proclamation moving Thanksgiving to the second to last Thursday of November. Being thankful and expressing our thanks to God is an important thing. We are to be thankful. So as we get closer to Thanksgiving, the holiday set apart for Thanksgiving, set some time apart to give thanks to God for His blessings and goodness, for bringing you this far in your life. If you're like everybody else, and you are, you've had good days, good years, bad years, parts of your life you wish you could forget, parts of your life you wish you could relive again because it was such a great time. We have things that we should give thanks to God about. In particular, His blessings, His goodness, His kindness to us, and most of all, His grace and forgiveness of sin. Wow. Reconciling us to Himself, we who are lost, that's something to be thankful for. It's true, We are living in uncertain times, but God is still good. He's still good, and He's deserving of our thanks. So give Him the glory and the thanks that He deserves this year. Set some time apart. And if you want to read those passages specifically regarding the feasts of the Lord that I mentioned, Zechariah chapter 14, read 1 Corinthians chapter 15. It's going to be the last part of the chapter. Verse 52 in particular refers to the Feast of Trumpets. At least I believe that's what it's referring to. And 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 and 17. It's very telling. Well, God bless you. I hope you have a great holiday this year, and I hope you're able to spend it with friends and family and people that you love and hold dear to yourself. God bless you. I hope to see you this Sunday, 10:30 at the True by Hilton, 72nd and Haskell, right behind the Scooters Coffee Shop. We're in the main floor conference room. God bless you. Have a great day.